Fund list?
Yes. And Ned, Bruce, you guys need to hit your
It's not
buttons.
7 o'clock yet. I don't actually know.
All right.
But it's possible that it won't work.
Okay. Minutes.
Are you gonna review the site walk?
What's that?
The site walk, are you gonna review the site walk on the 24th?
The planning board just went live.
Just mention it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Please. Yep. You not coming? Oh. Oh, that'll be nice. Yeah. I've been 3.
Letty, do you have the,
I know that
Most of us don't bring our
my
phones.
client said he was in
No.
the waiting room. So
Yeah.
I got that.
I gotta figure out. No slouching. MTI.
yeah, we're just trying to get the.
You can, no, you can't. It won't let you. Because it's already a meeting scheduled. Just 7:01. Good.
Doug, how's your summer been?
Outstanding.
You taking a trip?
Yeah, I've taken
You
a
guys
few
can
trips.
turn these off until we.
Yep. Went out to California for a month to be with my son.
Nice.
She didn't add this room, is why. Hold on, I'm talking to myself. I don't think the room was added.
Oh, so we have a full board.
What's this? No, we're missing,
You're not counting yourself.
mhm.
Steph. Yeah, a little bit of time off. Yeah. You know, she's down on vacation. So, yeah, it is. It is. You know, so, yeah, there's some of that. You know? Yeah, my wife's family does. Yeah, my wife's family does. But I enjoy it going up there. Where I can, actually.
Ourselves up there.
Nope, because the meeting isn't on. There's no Teams.
noticed that the Conservation Commission meeting was labeled as a selectmen's meeting.
Oh, yeah, I used to leave, yeah.
I would just take it.
And there was listed an economic development committee.
Doug and I got here at around 6, and we were.
Not happy.
Yeah, we were outside.
Yeah.
Oh, we were happy, we talked with each other.
I was happy. I would come, but
It was a
I
man
was
meeting.
trying to go to all the conservation committee meeting shows that last, like, was the select. And then.
Fortunately, Kristen showed up at 6. She was late. She was late.
I know, I mean, no, they're usually very good about it.
Yeah, I got here like 5 minutes to 6.
You know, to me, it's.
I missed it, but that's because it came a lot earlier.
So we're pretty good about this. Yeah, my wife was really.
When I got here like around 6 and it was pitch dark, I was like, oh.
He took my spot, and I guess I'll take, but that hasn't been changed.
Yeah, and they also. I
That's true.
mean, it's like me, like, I have to look at the. I know they've done a good job, but it's like.
Did you go to the breakfast meeting?
I didn't, but there was like nobody there. John said it was great, but. Got the presentation. When I figured it out, and so when I came over. And, there were old people getting in, 9:30, I was gonna. It sounded like.
I had to work.
Yeah, I had a doctor's appointment.
That would be nice though if it was.
Are we ready?
Oh,
I think so go ahead and put your, microphone back on. Can you all hear us?
Liz, push the button on their microphone.
yeah, I will if I have something to say.
Okay.
The red light is on, right?
Yes, red light.
Thank
Yeah.
Can you hear us on Teams?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Good.
Great. Okay. Sorry that took a minute to sort out. Thank you. So I'll go ahead and open up the meeting. We have a site plan review for MTI PolyX. And have a guest here to present, but we also have people on Teams. So I'll turn it over to you to give us an overview.
Certainly. My name is Todd Valentine, and MTI PolyX is my client. Their intention is to expand the building. Been working on that, on the site plan and architecture and all the parts that go into it for quite a while. As you remember from our last appearance here, we talked about the project as the initial presentation. We talked about the removal of the shingle pile, which is great. It's gone, if you remember that issue. But also, we're here tonight in the process that we'll have Mike Gagnon present the plan to you. We received Glenn's comments this morning. We worked on them this afternoon to be able to address them pretty coherently in this conversation. And we have Mike Sullivan also with us tonight, and he is the manager at MTI PolyX and is willing to answer any questions that he can only answer about operations if that was to come up, and also observe the proceedings. So I think I'll hand it over to Mike Gagnon, and he can share his screen or do whatever to indicate. But just to be clear, Mike, if you can't see it, they all have plans, the full-size plans rolled out on the table.
So before we do that, I think we need to consider invoking jurisdiction, which would start the
I'll
clock.
make a motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. And just,
Actually, I do have a question, just being new. explain to me, I know that starts a clock, right? 65 days or something, but can you just explain it to people at home, like when you invoke jurisdiction, what does that mean?
So first, we need all the materials for the application, so we're saying we have everything we need to start considering the application.
Okay.
That's
And
the
is it the
simplest
six-
way. I know Bruce probably has more.
And is it the 65 days? Is that the,
Correct, and then you
Okay.
can, with the consent of the applicant, you can extend that.
okay,
To say, if I required more information on a particular part of their project, and we needed experts to come in and look at that, and I needed data
okay.
from them, that with their consent can be extended. I've never seen any applicant that wouldn't extend it under proper circumstances.
great, okay,
The
thank you.
65-day rule is a state statute.
Okay.
Yeah.
And our requirement, we get you the book, so you can read the book. It says before the board will accept an application, before we start that 65-day time window, that the application materials must be substantially complete.
Okay,
So Glenn has reviewed that. I guess I would ask that our next meeting, I know Glenn sent us all the email, his comments, but it's always nice to have a copy, a printed copy of that.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather not bring my phone and have my phone ring.
Under these circumstances, I think we can accept it for once.
And before we vote,
Yeah.
should we accept Steph? She Zoom?
I don't know, just to say that it's okay to participate electronically?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because on the select board, when John comes in, they do vote to let him
Okay.
vote
I
remotely.
mean, it's, yeah, all right, it's a,
The motion's made, I'll second.
So we'll first, I'll withdraw my motion to invoke jurisdiction, and then,
you can.
or
it's-
do I even
it's-
need to?
No.
No? Okay,
Leave it.
all right.
Is she on Zoom?
What's that?
Is she on Zoom now?
Yes,
She is, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so, and just so you all are clear, so we have a 7-person board, and then we have alternates, and we have alternates sitting at the table tonight, but there are 6 of us here and 1 on Zoom who are voting on things tonight. So we have a motion to have staff participate electronically. We had a second. Someone take minutes?
Yeah,
Okay. All in favor?
The minutes?
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay, we're all in the room, we can do
And
this.
do we
But
have to
for the
do
next thing, we're gonna have to do roll call.
Aye.
Sorry, I was just gonna say one other thing, just for clarity, because I know this has come up before when we voted on invoking jurisdiction. We're not approving anything. We're just saying we're accepting the application. The process is starting that, yeah, that's all.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so we had,
who made the motion in second?
so Doug motioned to invoke jurisdiction,
And Ned,
and Ned second. Thank you. And now we're doing roll call, and we have an aye.
Bruce, aye.
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 Steph?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's con-
Okay, thank you for your patience with our procedural
That's clear.
things.
Steph's trapped in the box.
And we'll turn it over to you to walk us through what you've submitted.
Mike?
Mike, can't.
Okay, I'll get started. First of all, can everybody hear me okay?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what I'd like to do is I'll walk everybody through the site plans that were submitted as part of the application. Again, this is for MTI Polyx located at 50 Pine Road. And what recognizing that most of the board has, previously seen the plans. I mean, I'll try to not dwindle on some of the points, but I'm certainly here to answer any questions that may arise. So with that, I'd like to share my screen. And I assume, let me know when you can see our cover sheet. We good?
We can see it.
Okay, Thank you. So this is the cover sheet for the project with the locust plan. This is our index plan. So this really gives you a good overview of what the site looks like. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the location. However, just points of reference, Pine Road is located over here to the right. This is the main access drive that goes down into the site. This is the existing facility that's located here. Visitor and employee parking is out here in the front. We currently have 4 loading areas that are located around the perimeter of the building. There's some ancillary equipment pads. There's a transformer located here, and there's 3 existing silos for product that's located here. Site plan review is required for this project because of the 15,500 square foot proposed building expansion, because that's exceeds 7% of the original building size per your code. The existing building is about 40,000 square feet. The parcel that it resides on is 15.04 acres. The site is located within the Aquifer Protection District. As part of the submittal, we did provide a response to the conditional use criteria, the various points that are listed in your code. We responded to each one of those. The main site access, as I just mentioned, is off of Pine Road. That is not going to change with this project. Essentially, most of the front or the entire front area of the site will remain unchanged with this project, and I'll get into the detail in a second. I'm just going to move forward here. So this is the existing conditions and what we call our removals plan. So this just outlines any existing pavements or facilities that need to be removed to essentially make way for the proposed improvements. This is the back of the site. As you recall, this was the area of the former shingle pile, which has essentially been removed. And as part of this project, our surveyor did a topographic survey of this area, what I'm going to call a limited survey, really to update this area to provide accurate location of facilities and topo for the project. This is the front half of the site. Again, as I had mentioned, no real improvements are proposed out here. Now I'm going to get into, so what we've done on the site, we provided as part of a backdrop, we've superimposed the ortho photo. This is actually a near map image as of April of this year. So it's pretty recent, really gives you a good idea of, you know, in addition to the detail that we can provide as part of the survey, you know, it gives you good context of what's out there on the site, you know, particularly on a project like this. So again, the back half of the site, access to this area is going to be via the existing access drive, which is located here. And then we're going to put it, install a dense graded access perimeter road, 24 feet wide, through the back area of the site. Really, this is to provide not only access for the operations of the facility, you know, delivery vehicles, et cetera, maintenance, et cetera, but also to provide perimeter fire access to the facility. We did run, as we typically do, a semi-trailer, tractor trailer truck through the back. You know, it makes it through here with ease. This gray polygon actually represents the building expansion itself, which is going to come off of or be attached to the existing facility here. And then we've also provided a stormwater outlet to a new stormwater management basin that's located back in this area here. And I'll get into the specifics on that in a moment. And then, any of these existing concrete pads will be removed. As far as utilities required for this, all the utility services will be fed internally from the existing facility, so that no exterior utility service connections are required, with the exception of stormwater, as we've provided here. And then talk about the front area of the site. So as I had mentioned previously, this is the area of employee/visitor parking, which will remain. In the plan set, we had specified 35 parking spaces with 2 accessible spaces. However, as I've learned, that has been updated. The site owner has redelineated parking spaces in this area here through this bay, as well as other areas, so that now we actually have 54 parking spaces delineated on the site, and that's with painted pavement stalls. And you'll be able to see that firsthand. I understand you have an upcoming site visit, a joint site visit with the Conservation Commission on the 24th. Just to talk about stormwater for a moment, we designed the stormwater management basin to effectively accommodate the rooftop runoff from the proposed facility, such that we're able to provide a 50% reduction for the 2-year event as required by the state of New Hampshire DES, as well as your stormwater regulations for peak flow reduction. The basin is actually sized for the 100-year event. In the event that it does exceed capacity, we've provided, riprap or a spillway here. Groundwater depth, we have conducted a geotechnical investigation. As you can see, the borings are represented here and here. And groundwater depths were determined to be approximately 6 to 7 feet. So we have the necessary separation from the bottom of the basin to groundwater as required. I think essentially that's an overview of the project. I would be happy to, and just, as I had mentioned, next steps include the joint site visit on the 24th. As you know, we actually presented this plan previously in July to the Conservation Commission, and they had no issue with the proposed project. Obviously, they're looking at the project as a whole with respect to wetland resource areas. And while we're talking about that, this line here represents the 50-foot no disturb buffer, and as you can see, any improvements associated with the project are upland of that line. One other thing to note is that the project is within FEMA Zone A, or the 100-year floodplain. However, we've had this conversation with Glenn as well. We suspect that this is a legacy delineation that was associated with a former site before this entire area was graded. So I guess what I'm saying is that this line really doesn't follow any kind of contour that would be expected, with a flood elevation. So I think that concludes my presentation of the project. I would be certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I just had a quick question on the retention area. Did you say that it doubled in size from what it will double in size from what it currently is now?
Are you talking the stormwater?
Correct, the water retention pond? Or
Yeah,
water
so
retention area?
there are existing stormwater management facilities on the site. And there's an existing rain garden that's located up in this area here. And all of these facilities are going to be retained with the project. So these will be functional. In addition, there's a second infiltration basin / rain garden located in this area here with an overflow to this riprap swale that runs along the southerly side of the building. And that continues around over here. So this stormwater basin really is designed to handle the rooftop runoff from the facility. All of the other areas, we're not proposing any impervious area as directly. This is going to be a gravel access road. Almost the entire site back here is existing gravel anyway. So this really just delineates the access through the back.
You have a number of units on there indicating boring. Could you refresh my memory as to what that is? Is that a drainage, or is because the building seems to encompass several boring areas? What is that exactly?
Are you referring to the geotechnical borings?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's two borings. Todd, correct me if I'm wrong. Did they take more than two?
I think we took 4. They would
Yeah,
be
I think.
under the building, so to understand the soil content and
Okay.
groundwater level.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that before, but,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah,
actually
here's
5.
a better shot of where those are located.
And we started with test pits first,
Okay.
but the borings are what's marked for this 100,
And they all came back the same.
pretty much.
Is there any data on those borings?
Yeah, we have a whole geotech report.
We'd get a copy of that.
If you want it, yes. It wasn't required to file, but we'd be happy to share it.
A lot of sand in a sand pit.
Yeah, oh yeah. Just in case someone asks.
It's I would like to read it just out of interest of what's bedrock.
Thank you, first of all. I had a question about parking, and I could be misunderstanding, but based on what I'm looking at, because you touched on accessible parking spaces, it looks like the current designated parking area is much closer to the existing facility than it is to the proposed extension. And so I was wondering if you could speak to kind of the accessibility for the expansion, because it just seems like even if we do have accessible parking spaces there, it still could be pretty far from the proposed expansion.
I think I can answer that one because I worked on the parking with Mike and also did the analysis of the employee needs. When they approved the last site plan for the last edition, there was a lot of parking on the plan and it just got worn off. So it's been restriped. That's how we determined we had 54.
Mm-hmm.
All the employees enter into the building at one main security point, which is just off that page. But it's in the inside corner between the existing old building and that new addition.
Where the handicap parking is.
Correct, where the handicap parking is.
Okay.
This is it right here, right?
Yeah, and then there's a walk, and then there's a grade door to get in.
Okay.
I'm correct in stating that it's a 3-shift process.
Correct.
So you have X amount of people on site with a total count of,
We have a peak on Tuesdays, I believe, which I'll share this one. Go through it. 30, predicting 38.
because I am understanding correctly that you would be seeking a waiver on parking.
We are. So we, when I originally counted the spaces, we had exactly the right amount to meet our needs. But when we investigated it and MTI went back and had their parking lot restriped per the last approved plan, we're at 54. So we have quite a buffer. That even includes like 3 visitors at a time. So if there was somebody who comes through, but their sales are off-site, their product that comes in trucks. It's not a meeting kind of site. It's a manufacturing site.
How many are you supposed to have?
Pardon me?
What number is the,
You know what? Great question.
There's a
I think it's around
Yeah.
Square
70,
footage of building.
okay.
roughly.
I got it right here. 74.
Okay. So it's more than 38, but it's not 74.
Yes, it's 50, it's 50.
So it's, yep,
54.
so it's right in the middle.
There is plenty of other space on the property that people will see when they're walking the site.
There's a lot of,
sidewalk.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of
there-
space.
There's oodles of possible potential parking
If we, in the future, yes.
if needed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if it's okay with everybody, we can go through Glenn's comments, and then maybe more questions will come up. And then, hopefully you all can make it to the site walk on the 24th.
24th.
At what time?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be good too, because then we can.
Yeah. So, as far as the comments go, we'd be happy to just go through them one by one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mike, like I said, we received it today. Mike and I had a few phone calls on it. We both worked on it together, and, but I'm gonna let him take lead. I think the thing I know better is the parking piece. And I also have our cover letter from before, and some of the things were actually submitted, but not just accounted for yet, so that, which is good. But it'd be more than less. So Mike, you want to start on the comments?
Sure, give me a second to,
So I went back there to try to figure out where it was, and it went quiet when I got close to it. Like you could sense danger.
If we have an awkward silence, there'll be literal crickets.
yeah, I just want to open up Glenn's letter just so that,
Yeah.
okay, got it. All right, I'm here. So, this is in reference to Glenn's memorandum, dated August 14th, which Todd had, just mentioned we received this morning. So what I'll do is I'll just go through, each of the points, starting with, number 1, stating that the plan requires a licensed land survey stamp to be recorded at the registry. So, yes, we will do that as part of the final plan set. What we're prepared to do is we will actually include the surveyed plan from our surveyor will be included. That will include, his title block, his certification, and all of that necessary information. Likewise, number 2 is an endorsement block needs to be provided on the plan. We will provide that as well on the final plan set. And I'm assuming, and I'm just a little housekeeping on that in regards to both the endorsement block and the impact fee endorsement block. I assume that appears directly on the plan itself, or can that be on the cover sheet? And maybe that's a question for Glenn, just, out of formality.
It'd be a question for Glenn, but typically they appear on the plan set themselves.
Because then they get recorded.
And
Yes.
just to be clear, file with Mylar, not electronically, still, correct?
Correct.
So we would ensure that it's on the Mylar sheets.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so what we would do is the final plan, and as I had mentioned, we had brought in the ortho image, but that would be omitted, obviously, for the actual Mylar, filing, but the plans will definitely have all of the detail, otherwise that's necessary. So item number 3, yes, the impact endorsement block will be shown. Point number 4, in regards to benchmarks, that's already on our survey plan, and that will be included on that plan, as I had just mentioned. Item number 5 pertains to the error of closure requirement, and what that is that is the closure error that's required, particularly for boundary surveys, to ensure that the polygon that represents the property closes on itself properly. So if you have a bunch of segments that represent the property lines, with the with the bearings and distances that are represented, they want to just make sure that it closes within 1 part per 10,000. One of the things, so on this particular project, as I had mentioned early on, is our surveyor only provided an update to the topographic information with respect to the immediate project area. But what we have done, and I can show you that, is we've made reference to plans by others. So if you look in our general notes here, we actually reference the previous plan that was prepared in 2017 by Doucette Survey, and that is certified, and that's essentially the basis of our project. But then we superseded the immediate project information with a plan by Hancock Associates. So I guess what I'm saying is we really can't provide closure information on our aspect of the survey just because we don't have any or our surveyor didn't do the entire boundary of the parcel, but we do reference the previous plan that was done by Doucette.
Now,
And no other changes have occurred, around the perimeter of the site. So that's why, we were focusing on the immediate project area.
I personally, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask if you could add a note then, just explaining what you just explained to us. to
Sure.
Address
Yep.
the comments.
And we can submit that other survey as part of our package.
Sure, the recording number, registry.
Yep. Oh, that's,
Am I the only one who would prefer it on this plan set?
Well, you want to have the note on it, yes.
Well, to find the information required, that's why it's one of Glenn's notes, to find that information required, you shouldn't have to go back and look at a previous plan set. It should be on the updated plan set. Now, I would agree that if this was an addendum, if it was an addendum to a site plan, then I might be able to overlook that. But if we're going to move into the future, I think the more information we can have on plan sets on the first go, I think it'd be better.
Well, they could submit a copy of that recorded survey.
As
Right.
part of this.
But would
see,
they
the
have
current
to?
surveyor isn't going to stamp it because he didn't do the work. The work was done previous, on the plan that we previously approved and the plan that was recorded at registry. So all that information is at registry. So if you wanted to have him get a D-size copy of the recorded registry recording, that's fine. Put that in there because that will have the book and page numbers on the bottom and the recording number of registry. So it's just a simple matter of going to registry for $3. You get a D-size copy. And
So what's really missing on this plan is the benchmark? Is the benchmark and the related information from the benchmark to show where this is in relation to the benchmark?
No, the benchmark, as I had mentioned, the benchmarks will be included on the survey. The survey by our surveyors will be included in the plan set, in the final plan set. that does show the benchmarks. Actually, I might be able to pull that up, even though it's not included.
They had to tie that way down the road somewhere.
I completely get your point. I really do. I just would like to confer with Glenn about it, because he put it as a note.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he should be able to weigh in on that. Fair enough. Thank you.
Okay, in regards to point number 6, in regards to changes in tenancy for the site, we will add that note accordingly. And just to follow up on that, there has been no change of tenancy for this particular project, and either Todd and or the site owner can certainly expand on that as well, but that note will be included. Item number 7, the IBC, which is the International Building Code requirements. Again, we will reference that on the plans. Item number 8 is in regards to the building will be subject to annual inspections by the Brentwood Fire Department. Again, we will add that note to the plan. Item number 9 is in regards to the parking, the reduction of the parking from 74 spaces required to 54 that are provided. We will, as Todd had mentioned, we have a waiver request for that as well. Item number 10 is talks about a conditional use permit is required due to the property being located within the Aquifer Protection District. We had provided a response to that criteria, and it was included in the site plan review docket with a submission, and I believe Todd has a hard copy of that as well for your review as necessary.
We have both the parking waiver request and the additional use that was submitted, if you would like the copies of them this evening.
Sure.
Okay.
Item number 11 is an elevation drawing of the proposed building is required. Again, yes, we'll provide that as well once that becomes available. Item number 12, proposed site lighting. New to this proposal should be indicated on the site plan. There is no new proposed site lighting that's proposed for this project. Other than small fixtures at the building mounted fixtures and floodlights that are required by code at each entrance.
But are you saying those will be included?
Those will probably those will show up on the building elevation.
Okay.
So they're the typical small sconces, lights that that are necessary at the doorway. And the foot candle is is minimal. It's just around the immediate door, kind of similar to a residential fixture.
Okay, yeah, I think we do want those on there. We do have a dark skies ordinance, and we have seen, I think, some implementation that's different than what's been on plan. So we do want to see that and want to see those
Could we
conform with the ordinance.
do it as a note with a requirement and say it needs to be a shielded fixture, no uplighting, so on, and sort of just mimic the code because it's not selected.
Typically, that's shown on a plan set. You'd have a picture of the building on the plan set with the downcast lighting and the radius of the lighting, and then a note of the candle power. You have to meet the standards of dark sky compliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're familiar with them. Yeah,
So it might not be
typically they're up on the plan set.
Yeah, it might not be the exact design of the fixture itself,
But if we
but
selected a fixture with those
performance,
specifications.
yeah, and what we're seeing is not just uplighting, but lighting that's going straight out,
Yeah.
which we don't want to see.
No,
And I know
there-
you guys are down in a little bit of a,
But I'm
But still.
totally familiar with what you're asking for.
yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay, item 13, talks about the plan needs to be stamped by a wetland scientist. So just to elaborate a little bit on that, this particular, as I had mentioned early on, we did go before the Conservation Commission. They really didn't take any issue, with the project. We do show the 50-foot no disturb up in this area. Likewise, around the perimeter of this is the existing fire pond here. These are the wetland points, that were flagged by others, as with the previous project. So as you can see, all of the project improvements are upland, of those buffer zones. So we did not have, a lot wetland scientists employed as part of this project. So, we were just making reference to, the delineation, that was done with the, previous project. Any questions on that?
Would they have to seek a waiver from that? Have to confer with Glenn on that
I
one.
think that's a Glenn.
That's a Glenn question.
Yeah,
Everyone
okay,
is-
that's what I thought too, but,
But you're not going anywhere near the wetlands, but he included it as a note, so,
Yeah.
right.
yeah.
Okay, any questions so far based on the comments and responses?
I mean, we're very early in the process, and we understand that we just accept the application tonight. So as far as the town's engineering group, TEC group that reviews town plans, you're now probably at the point where you can submit those plans to the town engineer.
Well, it's my understanding with the fee check that we wrote, we would be determined internally which engineers it would go to. It wasn't indicated to me that, though we would end up paying for it, it would come through this office and go to the engineer?
Yes,
Or do we
correct.
need to submit directly?
No, I think Glenn will probably submit the plans on behalf of the town too.
Very
outside
good.
engineering.
Yep,
And then, yes, you would be charged for that
understood.
consultation. Absolutely. And then in terms of the fire, you're gonna have a note on the plan that says it meets the fire compliance code. But you probably wanna have an understanding of the fire department that what you're proposing, just for cost estimates, you wanna understand what should be required to be, I assume. So I guess my question is, if you will be talking to the fire department at some point, to say, hey, this is what we have in mind.
Be happy to talk to we'd talk to anybody at this point. It's a good project, it's pretty easy to be
Certainly,
clear
I think
on,
we're all
yeah.
for it.
Yeah, so, yes, whoever internally you wish for us to speak with, we'd be happy.
There'll be another question for Glenn. Glenn's normally here tonight, and can answer all those questions.
Understood,
He's
yeah.
back on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'll send him an email and just say, please identify.
And just the report on the borings,
I'm sorry?
just the report on the boring.
Yes, I wrote that down.
Liz?
Yeah, I just had a question. The second thing you just passed out to us, the real asset services, there's some places that, I know it's not a huge difference, but there's some places that say the project is to add 15,000, others that say 15,500. Which is the
That
more?
would, I usually try to put a plus minus in front, just
Okay,
but it's 15,500.
it is 15,500. Okay, and then the rest of this with the 38 is kind of moot because you said you really have 54, right? So this is,
That was my miscount until they
Okay, so this
reestablished
is-
with striping. Yeah.
okay. So the second page is more helpful because it actually has the days
It
in.
shows you loading, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? So, we have a site walk on the 24th. In the meantime, you probably want to get back in touch with Glenn, give him a download from tonight, the few things that, we have questions for him, you guys could probably work on in the meantime. I think I don't think we're ready to do the conditional use permit until we go ahead and do the site walk, have some more discussion with Glenn, yeah. Sorry, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage tonight without him here, but.
I understand, and sort of heard a little bit of news, and that's totally understandable. We're not. It is what it is, life goes on.
Yeah. So, but I think we got a good overview of everything, and you've answered a lot of our questions, and the site visit will be helpful, and
Yeah,
then
looking forward to it.
hopefully we'll have any outstanding questions we can get addressed.
We get the comments back from our engineer.
We'll get the comments back from TEC.
Yeah, very good.
And we always encourage everybody, like you said, anybody who will talk to you, like if talk to the fire chief, Glenn can give you some guidance on that, but
Absolutely.
we encourage that.
Yeah, I'll draft an email to Glenn, give him an outline, but I'll probably, it's a strategy. He's coming back on Wednesday.
He's here on Wednesdays, yeah.
Probably send it towards the beginning of the week, so we're farther up the email chain.
Yeah, I mean, you can always ping him Wednesday morning too.
Yes.
But yeah, we don't have a lot of active applications right now, so
Good.
he should be able to spend time on this on Wednesday. The only question I had going back to the original presentation is about the floodplain, and I understand the site has changed since the FEMA data, but how often is that updated? Is there any?
FEMA's, there's a great movement to update FEMA maps everywhere because water is changing everywhere. But as Mike pointed out, as a legacy line that was there, it could have been before the site was fully mined and filled. It could have been there sometimes they take their best guess. And if the map was drawn, let's say it was drawn in the 70s, they do their best, but they don't go out and survey every single location.
Not site specific.
Right. To mitigate a FEMA map and have it corrected is years.
Yeah. So is there a note anywhere just saying that this line is likely wrong because of changes that were done to the site over the years? Or
I think we've only discussed it with you directly.
Yeah.
If a note is required, we could.
I think it'd be helpful for the next
Yeah.
group who has a question.
Glenn can certainly help to identify what year the last FEMA update was done. FEMA did an update here in town even 9 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think they were more concerned with land along the river, flood,
Yeah.
real flood. This is not real flood.
No,
Here.
yes.
But that'd be a note that you could reference, I'm sure. But give us the date of that map.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
I mean, the town is really appreciative and really encouraging this to continue to add jobs to town and build some good buildings. And certainly the work you did, which wasn't the buck stops with the handout, but you weren't responsible for that shingle mountain.
No,
and so that was a big plus to a lot of us to see that you took responsibility in that.
You can thank Mike Sullivan for driving it. I just coordinated it, but Mike drove it, so.
They're beneficial.
You'll always have a special place in my heart for moving Mount Shingle.
Steph,
Well
do you have
done.
any questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Currently, how many employees do you have and how many jobs is this going to create, do you think? Oh, I didn't know. Never mind.
Yeah. We discussed this parking before we approved the site plan back in the fall for project out on 27. A big project, much larger than this.
Yeah.
And the approval is based on the number of employees that you have presently. So if you sell the property to someone else and you come in with a different type of manufacturing process requiring more employees, then obviously they would have to come back and address the requirements for extra parking at that time. This last project, the Prescott project we approved based on the number of employees that they were.
Well,
Glencoe.
that building was a whole nother ball of wax, because
Yeah.
once you start getting to that proportion of building and the X amount of parking spaces associated with that building, it becomes astronomical.
We
And
actually, we talked about
It's a rate of,
changing the wording.
right, it's a rate of diminishing returns.
Is that, that was the plastic pipe guys, right?
Yeah, they build water systems of some kind,
Yep.
yes.
So we should, if there aren't any other questions, we should, did you have any questions? We should vote to continue.
Yes.
And our next meeting is September 5th?
It'd be better to go to our second meeting so that the
Is that
TEC, the town engineer, had a chance to
That
get back to us.
Understood.
So, but August is a long month, so that gives you,
Be-
it's 3
You're on a
weeks.
2-week cycle, correct?
We're on a first and third,
First and
so August has a 5th, so it's 3 weeks out.
Want to do it on the seventh?
I-
Fifth or
we-
19th?
We would like to be on every next agenda that we would ever have to. do.
All right. So
It'd be September
September 5th.
5th?
So do we have a motion?
Which would give us a chance to have the site walk,
Yep,
possibly hear from the engineer if there's any comments that we can address.
Yep.
And supply you with the other items that you have requested of us this evening.
Yeah, and get with Glenn about those.
yep, sounds good.
And one final thing, on the
Sorry, who
additional
made the
employees.
motion?
We don't
And
have a
then-
motion.
Okay.
One additional question, on the additional employees, it looks like 3, or are there like, it's hard to tell with the days, like,
Oh, it's essentially 3. It's
3 new employees would be
Yeah.
added, okay.
Motion to continue to September 5th, 7:00.
Second.
Okay, and then we need to do a roll call vote?
Yep. Aye.
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
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 Steph?
Aye.
All right. So we will see you on the 24th?
5th.
Yes,
And then the 5th.
looking forward to it. And I understand around 9 a.m.
9 a.m., do we need any instructions, footwear?
No,
Tips.
the site's pretty, Mike said, it's pretty packed. So we'll tour around the building, show you where the new addition would go, answer questions. It's pretty easy. Let's hope it doesn't rain. That's all.
It's not the moon.
We need rain, but. maybe
Not that day.
We don't need rain between 9 and 12.
Between 9 and 12, exactly. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I'm thrilled.
Thank you.
Expanding business. Expanding business in Brentwood, great.
Thank you.
After all these
Thank you
difficult
very
years,
much.
good for you.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Just go.
board business. We do not have a manifest. We do have minutes.
There you go.
I don't know, but you're welcome to take
Doug's
some.
got it.
We have plenty to go around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Becky needs one of those, in her next budget for conservation, one of those things, what are they called, that have all the drawers that are, like architect's file. But
Did folks have a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
To accept those minutes.
I'll second.
Roll call.
I wasn't there, so I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, well, I have a question about
Aye.
that, because you're listed as being there. So it wasn't Ned, it was somebody else.
Ned was
What?
not at the last meeting, no.
He's listed as being present. So somebody else was there, because there were 5 and 2 alternates.
Yeah, my question on those
I did read the
minutes
minutes.
would be that, 'cause I did read that, and I'm not listed as present, but I am listed in other parts of it.
Okay, so we need to fix, so you're listed as being seated.
Correct, but not present.
Yeah, what we've done in previous minutes is kind of listed, listed.
I think it's important that if you have alternates or board members that are present, they should be listed
that
as
they're
present.
listed too.
Or
Okay.
maybe just underneath or something, just delineate, you know.
Even if they're not-
Five members, two
Just a count
alternates
of
seated.
Who was actually present.
Yeah, but
Why
there was
don't
somebody
we
there.
suspend the votes and we'll get these fixed. Was there anything else in there?
The motion could just say as amended.
We're trying to figure out who the other person was. No, Mark was an alternate. They said to him later.
And I was
but-
an alternate and seated.
Yeah.
It doesn't list me as present. I think it's important that you list whoever's there as present, if they're
Yeah.
seated or not.
But she can delineate just at the top. She can say board members.
we'll fix it.
And- Yeah, but I
Without
Without
still-
having Jillian, you know.
But
Yeah.
they did say that you were voted
was
as an
7-0.
alternate unanimously.
yes, they did.
Unanimously.
He didn't have 7-0, but he did have the unanimous.
All right, any other business? I know I need to submit a final report for the grants. I got a form to do that today. I missed the webinar. Anything you want to share? Was it helpful?
So I unfortunately had a doctor's appointment, but I had a little bit of I got a little bit of a
Preview.
of a review after the fact. It mainly covered it covered both like an overview of the HOP grant in general, because there are some new communities.
Yeah.
And then also the process for reapplying. So in terms of the specifics of that, I can.
Is it recorded?
It is recorded.
Okay, I'll go watch.
It should be on our Hampshire Planning's YouTube channel.
Okay.
That's usually where the recordings go. But in terms of the application form for the next round, Sarah Reitzman or George Regan, either one, would be the best point of contact there.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Just, it's all right. I just
Oh,
want to
yeah, sorry.
talk a little bit about this. We had a BudCom meeting on Monday. Was it Monday or Tuesday? I believe it was Monday. And they went over the new truck, which is really
Highway
nice.
shed, it was a highway shed
Yeah.
meeting,
Yeah.
It was Monday.
Highway meeting, and they've got the new truck there, and the new truck is set up for calibration, which sparked an interest to myself, and Bruce has talked in the past about Green Snow Pro courses out of UNH, and we've made requirements in the past for developments to do this Green Snow initiative, and our town does not follow suit with this. So they do have classes. I got in touch with Lee Cooper out of UNH, and through the state, I spoke to somebody else, and they sent me information as to classes coming up. And they seem to be very enthusiastic about having not only the highway department, but select board members, planning board members, conservation committee members attend these meetings. If you do these meetings individually, they cost $200 to $250 a piece. If we do it as a municipality, then it's $50 a person, $60 a person, of which I do have a contact person to reach out to. So only because I'm not completely familiar with the process and what needs to be done. The concern has always been my understanding with the Planning Board Conservation Committee that we be conscious about the salt and sand we use on our roads. Bruce in particular is very concerned about the salt and sand going over the bridges in our town, going into the rivers. So the courses, in a quick note, they talk about calibration. application rates being what to put on the roads, brine and pre-wetting, whether or not they are even necessary, and much more. There's 3 levels of certification. There's a master level, individual level, and subordinate level. To get started in this, only because I'm not familiar with it, I reached out to Karen, and I'm going to speak to the select board on Tuesday in reference to this as well, and see if they'd like us to reach out to somebody to do a presentation. I went to Doug this evening, only because I'm not that savvy. He seems to think that he could help with making a connection to have somebody come and either speak to the planning board or the select board, of which Bruce called me when we got here and suggested that it might be better suited if it goes through the conservation committee.
I think that.
I would agree.
Doug has mentioned that this course is available, in fact, it's about a month from now.
Yes, they do
planning
start.
for some of that.
October 9th is the first one at 2:30, and that's out of Stratham. October 15th, and that one is in Portsmouth. They're 8 in the morning to 2:30 in the afternoon. They provide lunch, breakfast, and coffee.
What are they serving?
But is it a select
Crazy, it's that
board
long.
issue to set aside the hours and budget? to
I
send
don't know that,
people?
and
Oh,
that's
that's
why.
not even the thing I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about the fact that most of our trucks can't do whatever it is that they want us to do.
There are, the truck doesn't have to be.
Well, this new truck is.
The one can't.
The new, but the interesting part about this is that I see no reason for us not to get educated in this. If we're gonna make requirements for developments to come into this town, we should understand.
Yeah, we already have it, right?
Right, you
And-
can't put, right, you're 100% correct.
So
You
who-
cannot put these things in place without accepting the responsibility of them.
So the planning board has to pay for the new trucks?
No, but that's, if you're gonna put those requirements upon these developments, then you need to bear the responsibility of following through with it.
Well, and my understanding was that there are things that a person can do in practice. It's not necessarily all on the truck itself,
That's
but
correct.
the choices that the driver
And
makes.
And because I'm not knowledgeable about what they do bring forward to the conversation, it wouldn't, I don't think it would, especially if we have a volunteer to approach either the conservation committee, the planning board, or the select board, at least discuss what benefit there would be for us to do that before, we start requiring everybody in the highway department to go, blah, blah, blah. But they do also have, in this particular, it's called Green Snow Pro / Snow Fighters Seminar. And they also have, if somebody new is coming into town to drive a plow, they have a 101 course to get you started on safe practices, I guess, for a plow truck. You don't want me in a plow truck, but, at least they could guide somebody new.
Be an
and
unsafe
make sure
practice.
familiar. So, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I was hoping to get some feedback by the board, whether or not I told Karen I'd get back to her and see if I should cancel or not, but.
I think it's a great idea, but maybe I'm thinking like a two-pronged approach. Sooner we can adopt some just basic general understanding of how you calibrate, you determine how many yards or tons per mile you do. If one of the 2 people in the highway department wanted to go this year, that's great. But I was looking for more a holistic thing that would take place over the next year, where we'd have somebody come in. I said, like, maybe we could ask you, Becky, when there would be even November, December, January, February next year, we could have this person come in with a joint board meeting and basically put together a packet. So we're not just saying, let me institute this, but give them a packet of what to institute, how it's done, all the options are. And this program goes on year after year. UNH has had the program for decades.
And as Doug was saying, I'm happy to help facilitate the UNH connections.
But maybe instead of rushing into it, we ought to, again, the first part of it, send a couple of guys next month to the program.
We spent all this money on this truck. It's got a calibration system. At least the driver should know what's going on and at least understands what, is involved. And not that I don't think they wouldn't know is, but if you can save money on salt and sand by knowing
Pay for itself.
it could pay.
It also would be okay to do something like send two people, you know, maybe one from the planning board and one that drives the big truck, you know, and then maybe they could come back and do sort of a presentation.
So what's the next step? So you're gonna help make a contact? and
So I was talking to Doug and I were talking before the meeting, and you're gonna send me some.
I'm gonna give you this name, Marlene Enos,
Yeah.
UNHEUD.
And
EDU.
and I can do some digging to figure out what department she works in, and I know a lot of the department heads, so I can kind of get to her that way.
I just think it'd be better if we could first ask Becky to come up with some possible dates.
Sure.
Kind of start the process, not bring this big person immediately, but when we can schedule the
That might be-
conservation.
that might
Sure.
be a good idea.
I think that makes sense.
I'm thinking
Is that
more
okay?
a year from now.
Yeah.
This fall is upon us. The state puts plows on October 15th.
Yeah.
Right,
We don't
right.
have to, we don't have to wait that long. I mean, it's kind of part of the, you're doing an educational series. We've done some joint meetings.
Yeah.
This is another topic.
But your point is well taken, though. That yeah.
It doesn't have to be tomorrow. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If it happens that quick.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Education is never a bad thing.
No.
And I apologize. I know the hour's getting late, but I had something I just want to raise for folks' awareness, if I could. And I'm not bringing this up because I expect that we're going to have a bunch of ideas tonight, but I just wanted to put it on folks' radar because we're starting to get to that point of the year. Because it's an election year, there are going to be two LSR deadlines for the legislature. One likely in September. Usually in an election year, there's an LSR filing period in September, and then one after the election in November, and the Senate is often in December. And just for anybody who's not familiar, an LSR is a legislative service request. So that's, there's a filing period where representatives and senators put in legislation. So, like I said, because it's an election year, there are going to be a couple windows for this. And a couple windows where we can offer some input to our elected officials if there's anything that we want them to propose. Housing is going to be another, hot topic in the legislature. So, just something for folks to think about. If there are any topics that you think might be good legislation that would be helpful to us here in Brentwood. I have connections with folks in the legislature who work in the housing space. Joe Alexander, who's the chair of the Special Committee on Housing, he's a friend of mine, so I'm happy to connect with him if the board wants to make any recommendations. So like I said, I'll double check the House and Senate calendars, but usually in an election year, there's one in September before the election, one after the election, and then the Senate is usually a little bit later, closer to Christmas in December.
Is he able to speak to the board directly?
Joe Alexander. I can ask him. He housing is like he's one of the leads on housing in the legislature, and so I can certainly make the ask. And I think that he'll probably be the chair of the special committee again, or depending on who's in the majority, he'll either be the chair or the ranking member. So he'll
Won't hurt to ask.
Yeah, definitely. And just for folks' awareness, for the LSR deadline before the election in September, it's still an okay time for us to propose legislation. If, hypothetically, if we reached out to a representative and they filed an LSR and they weren't reelected, that LSR is almost always picked up by a like-minded representative who did get reelected. So we don't have to really worry about that. It'll get picked up by somebody one way or the other. So just something to keep in mind and, to think about.
Thank you.
Really quickly, you're coming to the select board next week. I will ask this now, but then I'll ask it again next week. What is the first road that the planning board says has to be Green Pro plow certified?
Mill.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Okay,
River Road.
so having a timeline on that would be helpful for the select board to know when we would need to have that ready.
We won't accept the
It's-
road, the town won't accept the road for
3 years.
Yeah, it's a requirement on the developer when they're maintaining the road until it becomes a town.
That was
So
part
it's
of the
not,
condition.
So it's not a requirement for the town?
no.
No,
No, but that's what we're saying.
that's what we're saying.
My whole point was that development was 70 houses, 72 houses. It's all served by stormwater management, so none of the water that runs off the roads runs out into the river. But we said, hey, it has to be green snow, and then the town of Brentwood drives down Mill Road and sprays half of the load of salt
Right, I
into the
just,
river.
I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. The requirements that you put on the developer when the road is a private road does not have to be continued by the town when the town accepts the road.
That is.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be, but why would you do it?
No, I
anyway?
just wanted to understand,
But that's a good timeline to keep in mind, too.
that's the,
Is that the only development that has that requirement
was
now?
the first
So Three Ponds doesn't.
Three Ponds is being accepted by the select
Yeah, I know,
board on
but they don't have the green snow.
No.
No, it was
So-
the
so
proximity to
with-
the river was
So
really the.
keep in mind that we pick up that road,
After
we're not even qualified to really, well, on the Green Pro system, we're not qualified to.
Yeah.
With the brand new truck.
But by,
that we have
by the
to
time the
develop.
river runs finished and then 3 years after that,
See,
it'll probably be
I was
qualified.
not in favor of that condition myself, but
Mhm.
the more I thought about it, and I think about all of the bridges that we have in town,
Mhm.
every road crosses a river or a stream, it's a concentration of salt in the drainage area around it. And so we ought to be mindful.
sure.
I thought you were one of the biggest advocates.
Oh, well, initially.
Because he was.
Yeah, initially, I took it as a means of trying to forestall the.
Oh,
All right, let's not, yeah, let's
That's-
not
that
go
was
back in
true.
history.
Let's digress.
We do digress. Any other official
digress.
business? And if not, we can, yes?
Does anyone else have to sign that form? They said the form
Here.
was,
Oh, you have to
Okay.
sign a form?
I signed it.
It's,
well, they told me,
it's complete.
okay, thank
It's
you.
done.
So you can just take it down.
Yeah.
No, I've already been, they changed the,
I don't know,
I already got sworn in, so it's okay.
okay.
But they first told me I
I
needed
might just leave
4,
this in
and then
the
it was only
office.
you. Okay.
Okay.
all good. I got my email.
Oh, you did.
I got
Motion.
some of this.
Welcome aboard. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll
Oh,
call.
aye, Doug.
Aye.
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 Just to make sure, who is planning to
Aye.
attend Saturday?
Thank you, Steph. All right, the
Thanks,
meeting is
Oh,
adjourned.
that's a good question.
I know, I can't, I'm not gonna be around so I know I won't be
Kristen?
here.
It'll just be you and I, Bruce. It'll just be you and I.
Well, I'm not going, I'm heading out on a motorcycle.
You, I, and Doug.
Kristen?
I've been there many times.
You won't be there?
Bruce made